Welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. I'm Benjamin Poole, one of the head traders at Verified Investing. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who subscribed. My subscribership shot up big time. Hopefully, if you guys are new to the channel and you guys aren't familiar with Verified Investing and you guys want more chart patterns, go to verifiedinvesting.com. Not only myself, but also a guy named Gareth Soloway. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does a morning game plan, my trading game plan. Drew Dosick does Trading the Close, and a lot more other free content on Verified Investing. If you guys like charts, if you guys like trading, great information, and it's all free. So again, thanks for subscribing and liking my YouTube channel. It's super helpful for me. All right, so in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a recap of ZSL as well as Palantir. Palantir is getting into that lower end of this upsloping parallel channel that I was mentioning. And then I have PANW, which is actually hitting the midline of a parallel channel. And then I have ORCL, which has been beaten down. I'm going to go over those briefly with you. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter video, but let's go ahead and just dive right into the charts. So here's the first chart, PNW. Actually, let's go to ZSL. So like I had mentioned yesterday, you had this beautiful upsloping trend line that I connected this pivot high from the 20th of the September 22nd, 2022, highs of February 2024, another highs in July, and then highs in October. Look at how this resistance trend line was a lot of resistance. Price action got rejected each and every time it hit that upsloping trend line. Also, you have this upsloping trend line on ZSL. Now we're actually starting to hit the lower end of this upsloping trend line. Now, post-market, we're actually below this level. In the last video, I mentioned that we want a continuation move. So right now, it has broken below, but it hasn't confirmed that it's breaking down. So what we want to see is a move lower than the lowest point on the closed candle. So for ZSL, our pivot low for tomorrow, we need to close below 307.35 before it confirms that now we're broken these upsloping trend line. Once that happens, we're not going to enter the trade yet. Some retail investors do like to enter on a close or a confirmation, but we want to be better than the retail investor. So we want to actually wait for a retrace to that broken upsloping trend line. And the reason we want to do that is to minimize the amount of risk that we're taking in this trade. If it wants to continue lower after it fails, we'll just say, congratulations, that was a great move. Oftentimes, price action likes to retrace this into the crime. And that's where we want to enter a short on ZSL. If it does get down to this gap fill at $255, actually, the gap fill is at $251. This would be a great buying opportunity for ZSL. Once people see this price as beaten up as it is, that's where they're likely to pick this up. Palantir, look at this parallel channel. I had mentioned that price action has respected these boundaries pretty nicely. You do have these outliers where price action got above it, but quickly recaptured the parallel channel, chopped along the midline, and then once it got to the upper end of the parallel channel, it was rejected again. Then we got back to the midline, and now we're trading towards the lower end of this upsloping parallel channel. Palantir is still technically in an uptrend. So what do we do with trades that are technically in an uptrend? We wait for a reversal. So right now we have this little bit of a reversal, but we haven't broken the lower end of this parallel channel. So we want to wait for a break, a confirmation, and then a retrace. However, if you're bullish on Palantir, which some people are, some people think this is the greatest stock ever, and they just keep buying all these shares. They buy these puts and or these call options. If you're one of those people, this upsloping parallel channel, this is the third hit. And so on a technical basis, it does actually favor a move to the upside. What you could do is you could actually look to enter this trade right now and look for a potential move all the way up to about $195. And that's back to the midline of this parallel channel. And the reason you'd want to consider possibly taking shares off of the table there is due to the fact that that midline is going to be resistance. If we start breaking above that, it could head up to all-time highs and even go up to about $219, $220, depending on when it gets to the upper end. If it breaks to the downside, I see Palantir going down to $125, sub $125, which would be more of a longer-term pickup or buy level for me on Palantir. Right now, could be putting in a nice head and shoulders pattern as well. So just a couple different things to look at on Palantir. If it closes below this upsloping parallel channel and you are long, consider exiting on a daily closing basis. Oracle, speaking of euphoric moves, Oracle had earnings. This was their earnings. And I actually started shorting Oracle at $250, $260. My average was $290. I'm thinking 20% up on the back of earnings. I was a genius. I thought this was going to be the greatest trade ever. And then all of a sudden, Oracle came out and said, we have a $600 million, maybe it was a 600. Yeah, I think it was a $600 million backlog. And so then it went up as much as 40% higher, or 40% overall. What I want you to notice is a reversal signal. What you want to see is a nice green bar candle followed by the next day of a wide range red bar candle. This is signaling to the institutions that now is a good time to exit. This doesn't necessarily mean the run is over. It just means that's something to keep your eye on as a potential topping signal in the charts. So then when price action gets back up to this red bar candle, you got to think of each red bar candle as a group of buyers who are in there. In order to sell, you have to have a buyer. So there were all these people who were buying, thinking Oracle is going to go to a $1 trillion evaluation. Now it's up to $349, $350. The next level is $400. And so in this red bar candle, you have all these buyers who are sitting there. What happens when the price action, as soon as they buy, continues to drop? Once the price action gets back up to that level, maybe slightly in the money, they're going to panic sell, and institutions are going to load into the next set of buyers, and that's what happens. And then you see these massive rollovers. So what am I looking for in the chart of Oracle? I'm looking for $210.24 as an entry price into Oracle. I did day trade it today, and I lost. I won one time on it, and I lost a second time. I didn't get that continuation bounce that I was looking for. However, tomorrow on a day trading basis, I am looking for $210.24 with a potential max downside of $199.86. You do have the secondary level at $196.04, which will be additional support for Oracle because this was the previous all-time high from November of 2024. So if you're looking for a long-term play, Oracle is a great setup, especially after this wide sell-off. Look at this. So from $345 all the way down into this first gap fill, is going to be 40% discount on a company that's still profitable. If it goes down a little bit more, you could pick it up as much as 44% off of its highs. So this is one of those stocks that I wouldn't mind dollar cost averaging into, looking at the price setup for a long play. I know some of you guys are looking for those, and so this is an opportunity for a potential long. PANW, I was mentioning, is another stock that's had a beautiful parallel channel. Price action has respected the boundaries on the upside, the midline, and the lower end of the boundary. Look at this. So this upsloping parallel channel goes from December 2021 to the lows of 2023. But look at how many times support and resistance is respected on this. Once it gets above, it does peak above, but then it gets pulled right back to the midline. And then price action gets back up to the upper end, gets rejected, back to the midline, gets back up again, gets rejected. And then once it gets to the lower end, it gets a lot of support, which means that the midline could be a great buying opportunity, knowing that you could get a continuation move to the downside if the sellers come out. We had a pretty nice sell-off in the markets today. PNW did not sell off very much. So I'm overall more bullish on this than a lot of other stocks. So Pierce of $200 could be a great buying opportunity, knowing that there's this previous gap fill at $193.84 for additional support. If you were a little bit more conservative, you would want to wait for a break of this midline, break of this additional support level, and possibly pick this up around $170. The beautiful thing about a parallel channel, an upsloping parallel channel, is any close below the lower boundary on a daily closing basis, you would go ahead and stop out. With knowing how well and how far back this upsloping parallel channel goes, you could take a pretty sizable profit. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. Thanks again for liking, following, subscribing, doing all the things. What I want to try is I want you guys to leave 2 or 3 comments in there. I'm not going to go over the chart beforehand. I'm going to see if I can rapid fire and set up these charts in real time with you guys. Well, not real time with you, but I'm going to go over the charts before even looking at them. So you can see my process, see what I look for, see how I create these trend lines, see where I can spot gap fills and where the next potential downside could be, to try to help you guys understand how I go about my process in creating these charts. It's not magic, just trend lines. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys next time in the charts. Take care.